Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Delia Clark, and I'm a place-based education consultant working with the Iditarod Historic Trail Alliance in partnership with the Chugach National Forest, the Bureau of Land Management, Campbell Creek Science Center, and the Anchorage Park Foundation. In normal years, we offer the iTrek program as an 11-day in-person teacher professional learning program spread across a year. We encourage teachers to think about how they can connect to place, bring their students outside more, bring outside resources into the classroom, and how they can connect with the Iditarod Trail and the Alaskan cultural and natural landscape. During the pandemic, we're offering some of the core elements of iTrek as a webinar series to continue to serve Alaska educators in ways that we hope are valuable to you. We hope that you're able to use this information that you get today to encourage your kids to get outside and to know more about the nature and culture of Alaska. We'll be offering the series throughout the school year, and we hope you're able to attend more. If you're interested in receiving one UAA credit for participating in this series or for a flyer listing the full series, please contact us at itrekalaska@gmail.com. So that's ITREC Alaska@gmail.com. And I'm very excited today to be here talking to you about questing. If you're could take the time to in the chat just put in your name and where you're from, that would be great. A few reminders to please mute your audio when you're not speaking, and if possible turn your video on when you're speaking just so we can see your face. It's not required, but it would be nice if you can. And we'll be using the chat feature during the webinar today to ask questions and share ideas with the group. So you might want to open it up so you can see what's going on in there. If you'd like to speak, a good way to let me know is to use the raised hand feature, which is on the toolbar under reactions. You'll see that you can raise your hand and that'll put you to the top of the list and I'll know you're interested in speaking. Just to make sure you know, the webinar is being recorded and we'll be offering it to teachers who do want to apply for UAA credit and aren't able to be here tonight, and to anybody who's interested in this content. One thing you need to be successful in our program right now is a pen or pencil and a piece of paper. So I'm just going to give you a little second to run and get that so that you'll have it handy when we get to that part of the program. Oh, we've got people from Vermont and California, Alaska, all over the place. That's great. So I'm hoping everyone's back with a pencil or pen and a piece of paper now. I'm going to ask Judy to put up a poll just to find out how much you already know about questing. So Judy, you can launch the poll now. This is Judy's first time launching a poll.
And it is launched.
Okay, are people seeing the poll?
Yes.
Great, thank you. And Judy, when you think you've got a representative series of answers, you can close down the poll and share the results.
Okay, results are still coming in, so I'm going to leave it open for now.
If they're slowing down, you probably won't get 100% of the people.
Okay. I'm going to end the poll now.
Okay,
I'll share results.
thank you.
Can you see that?
Annette, can you see the results?
Yes, we can.
Great. I can't, so Judy, maybe you can comment
I,
on what do we see? Who's here?
okay, of the questions, the question is, please select statement that best describes your experience with questing. And 40% say, I have been through questing training before.
Great.
And then 20%, I have been through questing training before, but I could use a refresher. And 40% says, what is questing? I don't know anything about quests.
Awesome.
Geocaching.
So we've got a great mixed group, and we'll be able to learn from each other. So that's wonderful. Thanks a lot. And I'll just note that the photo you're looking at is something that you might find if you were out on a quest. So we're going to talk more about that in a minute. What I'd like to go over today is just talk about what questing is. I'm going to take you, my way of teaching you about questing is going to be to take you on a virtual quest up in Nome, Alaska, as a way of demonstrating the way they tend to work. I want to talk about the qualities of a good quest and some curricular applications and resources for you to use when you're questing. There are quests all over the place. This, as you can see, is one that was made at Quincy Field in the by Golden Gate Bridge in the Golden Gate National Recreational Area, and they span from there. There are lots of them in Alaska, all the way over to Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and down south there. And there are a lot of them in Eastern and Central Europe as well. Particularly interestingly, the countries like Poland and Bulgaria, where it sort of fits in well to the culture they have of connection with the landscape. So, what is a quest? A quest is a treasure hunt that's generally made by school groups and or by historical societies or other clubs and organizations that want to get people out exploring the landscape and getting comfortable learning about the landscape. What you're looking at here is a series of different quests, a lot of them made along the Appalachian Trail, sister trail to the Iditarod Trail as part of the National Trail System. They generally have a map of some sort, and they generally have clues of some sort, and they often are rhyming clues, clues that are designed to be fun. Quests are playful ways of getting people up off their couch and out exploring the landscape, learning about the natural and cultural history of their area. Questing has some cousins that you might have heard of. Geocaching is one. Geocaching is similar to questing. It tends to have a heavier emphasis on using map and compass work. And the caches often have little gifts in them or things you can, little plastic gizmos and things like that. Whereas questing tends to have a book and you leave a rubber stamp impression and take some notes. But they all are that same idea of let's get out and explore and learn about the world all around us. Letterboxing is similar, but it happens more in England on the moors, and that was the origin for both questing and geocache. And treasure hunts, you've probably been to one at a birthday party. They're just, there are a million ways to make fun treasure hunts that are playful in that same way. So they're a whole group of things that are the same. So I'm going to take you on a quest right now. This is a quest that some of my colleagues in the Chugach National Forest and the Bureau of Land Management and others made together to teach about the nature and the culture of Nome, Alaska. And we've used this a lot with teachers as a way to try to give them the idea of teaching. If you have ever been to Nome and you're interested, you can write that in the chat because it would be fun to know who's been there before. So this quest starts with a map, and as you can see, along the bottom of the map is water. That's the Bering Sea. And if you've been to Nome before, or even if you haven't, you might have been to similar towns that have a front street. So Front Street is the street that goes right along the water, and then the town goes back from there. And there are clues that you can gather as you walk all around Nome, and together they add up to sort of a famous saying in Nome. So if you could take I got ahead of myself. You take the paper you have and write down the numbers 1 through 22 along the paper. and leave, you can write them sideways and leave a space above each because you're going to be harvesting letters as we go on this quest and then seeing what the letters spell. So write down 1 to 22 on your piece of paper and we will get going. Let's see, where is number 1? We're starting at 20. This quest is actually designed so that you don't have to collect the clues in any order. You can just use the map, and if you can start up here or you can start over there. You just need to collect them all. And that was intentional so that we didn't have clumps of people all walking around in the same place. So I'm going to read aloud this first clue, and then I'm going to be looking for volunteers to read aloud some of the clues for me. So I'm wondering if I can look for a show of hands, or if you could put your name in the chat, if you'd be willing to be one of the people that that I call on to read aloud clues as we go along. So I see Tim is willing, Molly is willing, and Annette, thank you. Great. And how about and Judy. So I'm gonna call on I'll call on, oh, and Erica, thank you. Good. Okay, so Erica, Louisa, Judy, I'm just gonna call, looks like everybody that's I'm just gonna rotate through and call on some names to help me read. I'll do the first one. It's time for a photo show the world how you look. It's time for a photo. Show the world how you look. The world's largest gold pan looks good on Facebook. We thought that was funny at the time. I think we're all a little discouraged with Facebook at the moment, but you're looking for the third letter on the huge gold pan. So the third letter in the whole sign is the letter you're harvesting, and that's going to go above your number 11. So see how we've got number 11 right here? And we're looking at our third letter right there. So that's the letter you're going for, and you can harvest it. We'll go on to the next one. And Louisa, I'm going to ask you to read this one. We're going for letter number 1.
In need of some groceries or things you forgot? Hanson's got your back. Check it out, just the spot. We want the first letter and the second word of Hanson's official name.
So Louisa, what would you say is Hanson's official name?
Hanson Trading Company.
That is correct. So first letter in the second word, we're not going to say it out loud, but everyone collect that letter and put it above number 1 in your letter list, in your number list. So now we're going to go to Tim. Tim, can you read to us about clue number 6?
Sure. Clue number 6. Wyatt Earp. Now there's a guy who really got around, including running the Dexter right here in this town. What does prop stand for? 6th letter in this word.
Okay. Tim, what's your guess? What does prop stand for?
Well, I think it stands for proprietor.
I believe that's correct.
And so it would be the 6th letter in that word.
Right. Don't say it out loud.
Okay.
Everybody get it.
You didn't say we'd have to know how to spell.
I know, this is tricky.
This is trickier than the old one. We couldn't read the old sign, so we had to come up with something new. Those of you who've been on this quest before will recognize that this is something different. We're always innovating. Okay, and Annette, since you're talking anyway, can you read us this one?
I can, thanks. Do you have a question? Do you need a brochure? Gnome Visitor Center for sure has the cure. First letter of what people did to the Golden Sands of Gnome. See sign out front.
So I'll give you a minute to read the sign. And you can see that they actually did 2 things to the Sands of Gnome, but they both begin with the same letter. So we're good. And hopefully you've harvested that letter and put it beside the number 10. And I can share that when I've made quests with school kids before, they really want to make sure that everybody reads the whole sign. They're not okay with people just going and grabbing their letters. So that's why I just did that with you as well. Now we're up to number 4. Judy, would you read this one?
An ingenious invention that is still used today. The Umiak allows hunters to safely make their way. 4th letter of kind of animal whose hides are used to cover these frames.
Again, not an easy one, but we did blow up the key information down here in the bottom right. So are people seeing that? I'll give you
Yes, and it's the 4th letter of the kind of animal.
right. And here's the
And
animal
it's
right
the
here.
4th
Yep.
letter.
Okay. So everyone has that one?
Yep.
Okay. And this is wonderful. It's right in the middle of the Nome Town Square, and you can see these beautiful frames. So Nome is a very wonderfully educational place to go visit if you haven't. Erica, here's another one for number 5.
Okay. Postcards may be old-fashioned, but are still fun to get. To send to your friends, this is the best place of yet. First letter of the last name of the president when PO building was built.
So it's a little hard to read, but I think if you look on the big photo, you can tell who was president when this post office was built. And I'll give you a clue with my cursor. It's right up here.
First letter of the last name. Okay.
First letter of the last name, and that goes with number 5. So hopefully you're starting to gather that together, and that is going to bring us to this next one, Molly.
Eight, looking for fine native artwork to give as a gift or spruce up your home? Come inside, get a lift. First letter of the city named on the hanging sign.
So first letter of the city named on the hanging sign. That's a pretty easy one. But it's a wonderful shop. I'm hoping that it survived COVID. I haven't been up since then. Let's see. That's going to bring us to, how about Louisa? And
Okay, this is for number 2. From Sydney to Miami to exotic Taipei. So many fun places, all so far away. And we want the second letter of the city that is 3,305 miles away from Nome. Ooh.
this sign has definitely seen better days, but you can read which city that is. So everybody find that city, and you want the second letter. Hoping everyone's gotten that. And let's see, how about Tim? Can you read this one?
Sure. Okay, number 7. Of Inupiaq values and culture, this statue does tell. Nome's not just about gold, but native traditions upheld. So we're looking for the 4th letter of Uparazuk's first name.
So can
Okay.
everybody see his name? It's a little
Number
hard to read
7.
down here. Yep, 4th letter of this name down here. Thinking you guys can see my cursor. And I completely didn't keep track of who I called on before, so I'm just making this up. How about Annette? Can you do this one for us?
I can. In 1926, Roald Amundsen accomplished a remarkable feat, flying over the pole from Europe to land at your feet. First letter of the last name of the American on Amundsen's team.
So I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a hint. If you look in the bottom right, you'll get that information pretty easily. So you don't need to say it, Annette, but did you have time to find it?
I did. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, good. Let's go with Judy next for number 9.
9. Where, oh, where can I find a good cup of joe? Bearing tea has espresso. We recommend that you go. Letter made by the overall shape of the art on the sign.
That's another tricky one. But hopefully everyone is getting a sense of a letter from that. And we will move on. There are a few of these that we've had to shift since the original quest was made. Erica, can you read number 13?
Yes. In 1900, Nome was a big boom town with 5,000 people looking to party on down. The oldest of all of Nome's drinking saloons, the Board of Trade, is still playing our after-work tunes. First letter of the 5th word in the line starting with headquarters.
Mm-hmm. So that line is at the very bottom. First letter of the 5th word. I'm not sure you could use this one in a school. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Although it's right downtown, so maybe it's fair. Molly, can you read this one?
19. The Iditarod National Historic Trail gets its due from the world's oldest dog mushing club. It's not new. First letter of the 2nd word of trail honored.
So this sign honors the Iditarod National Historic Trail, and we want first letter of the 2nd word of the trail. Hopefully that you have that one and are harvesting it onto your piece of paper. Here, I haven't read one in a while. I'm going to read this one. In 1898, these 3 Swedes got real lucky, discovering gold in Anvil Creek. Now that's darn plucky. The first letter of the reindeer herder's last name. So here's the reindeer herder down here. The 3 lucky Swedes and the first letter of his last name. Okay, I got that. It's really fun, obviously, if you go to Nome to get your picture taken standing next to one of these guys. Something to look forward to on your next trip. Sometimes they have scarves wrapped around them and things as well. Louisa, can you read this one?
Sure. Number 16. Gathering space for Nome residents, the young and the old, Anvil City Squares Park is town center, where stories unfold. 4th letter of first word on the sign for the square.
4th letter, first word, number 16. Everyone got it? Here we go. We're getting really close. Tim. Tim, can you read this one?
Yep, sure thing. Okay, number 12. Its name rhymes with Ringo. It's worth checking out. An awesome place for coffee and treats for your mouth. 2nd letter in the missing word on the Pingo sign, Pingo blank seafood house.
So there's a word that's not there, and I'll give you guys a hint. And that word, we want the 2nd letter in that sign. And I'll just say, when you're writing these with your students, you know, out and mouth, you have to decide, does that rhyme or not rhyme? And, you know, it's a judgment call. Some people would say yes, some would say no. It's a lot of fun to do anyway. Annette, can you read us 14?
Yes. Donald Perkins was a more modern Nome guy, and he was a teacher like you and like I. Donald Perkins' middle initial.
Now, if I were a kid, I would make you read this entire sign in order to find that middle initial, but instead, you don't really have to. And you can see that this quest was made particularly for teachers. So probably if you were making one for the public, you'd need to come up with a different rhyme. Let's see, Erica, how about this one?
Number 17, the Alaska Territorial Guard, who were aged 12 to 80, helped keep us all free. Their sacrifice was weighty. Last letter in Major Marston's nickname.
I'm not sure. I'm so curious where he got that nickname. I'm sure there are people on this call who probably know, but book took Marston. So got that one. We're getting toward the end. Let's see, who hasn't read one? Molly, can you read this one?
Number 18. The Iditarod race finds its end point right here. The burled arch crosses Front Street year after year. Letter farthest to the right on the side.
Thanks. This is a group, you can probably tell, of Iditarod teachers, or of iTrek teachers from one of our past years when we were able to get to Nome. And it's wonderful getting to meet virtually, and I feel very lucky that we're able to. And it's even more wonderful getting to go in person and gather together with people. And maybe someday we'll be able to again. And we're just coming toward the end. Let's see. Annette, can you read this one?
Recognizing 2 eras of Nome's varied past, this welcoming sign is sure built to last. Next to last letter of the biggest word on the sign.
That's a pretty obvious one. And I'll read this one. The headquarters of Bering Landbridge National Park is home to our classroom. Return before dark. During the years that we offer iTrek in person, we've been lucky enough to we've always tried to have the class meet up in Nome. It's always a little bit of a budget question right down to the end, but when we are able to do that, we've met at the Bering Landbridge National Preserve Park. So this is the classroom that we meet in. It's got this beautiful sign out front. First letter of the next to last paragraph on the fluted spear point display sign, which I believe is not right here. Darn it. Okay. I'm gonna have to give you that one. I think I messed that up. Sorry. So that's gonna be your mystery letter. I just forgot to change that. Okay. And then let's see, who hasn't read in a little while? Louisa, can you read this one?
Sure. 22, the last one. Gaze on out as far as your eyes can see. What is the name of this remarkable sea? Second letter in the name of this sea.
So people from Vermont, California, and elsewhere might not know that this is the Bering Sea, which is spelled Bering. And it's quite a remarkable place and really just all ice when our iTrek group usually goes there in April. Okay, so now you've got all your letters and hopefully you've begun to fill them in with all of these. And I can tell you that number 20 was an O, the one that we weren't able to give you. So, are you ready for the big reveal? Tink. Hopefully you all were able to spell something that looks like there is no place like Nome, which is the slogan of Nome, Alaska. And they've got it on, you can see they have it on a lot of the signs in town, and you can get buttons that say that and bumper stickers. And it's one of their big sort of tourist slogans. So I wanted to take you on that quest because it seemed like the easiest way to explain what a quest is. A quest obviously just is a playful and fun way to learn all about the town. or about a natural area, or really about anywhere. There are quests that you do on your bicycle. There are quests that you do paddling. There are quests in cemeteries, collecting information from different gravestones. There are all kind there are lots of different ways to do quests. They often end with a box, a hidden box, and inside the box is a little notebook that you can sign, a rubber stamp, and you can take an impression of the rubber stamp and collect them for the collection that you have of all the different quests that you visited. Sometimes they end in the chance to take a rubbing on a brass plaque or something like that. There's one, Chrissy Field, and after you've collected all the clues out in San Francisco, you take a rubbing of the word respect. Or there's some like the one we just did that just spell out a word and you know that word. There's a quest in my town where you go around and you collect all these letters and they spell a word, and you go up to the little general store and you say, I'd like and the word you've spelled is sarsaparilla, which is an old-fashioned kind of root beer. And that's his clue. He doesn't give you a sarsaparilla, he gives you the box from under the counter so you can sign in. So it's a lot of, they look like all kinds of different things. But I'd say if you were to say the qualities of what a good quest looks like, they should be fun. They at Ben and Dairy, you might say if it's not fun, why do it? I think fun helps us to learn better. Fun helps us to want to be engaged and learn more about our communities. It should be challenging, but ultimately solvable. If you make it, you want it to be challenging because that's what keeps it going. If it's just easy peasy, then it's not as fun. But on the other hand, if it's hugely frustrating, you can't solve it and you end up getting lost and you're out still after dark and you don't know where you are, that's not a good situation. So it's somewhere in the middle there is the sweet spot. You want it to be aesthetically attractive, beautiful to look at, and hopefully something that people will think is something that they're drawn to doing. And you want it to go somewhere interesting. And I've got the word terrain here, but honestly, there are quests in the middle of cities. There's some wonderful quests in libraries where you're going from book to book in the reference section, and the clue, the treasure box in the end is a fake book on the library bookshelf that you pull out, open, and it's actually a box that looks like a book, and all the rubber stamps and things are inside that. So it can be there. It also could be out in the woods. There's so many different places. Really, almost any place in your community is interesting, and a quest will help make it more so. I think quests are best when they tell a good story. If they engage you either in a local hero, or the history, the origins of a local building, or finding ways to kind of pull you along and get you to know more. It can be really interesting. The clues should be funny. That's one of the reasons that we go with rhyming clues, because it makes it more attractive. It keeps you moving through it when you get to sort of feel that meter moving through your body. I love quests best when they reveal a human connection. When you can see the people that wrote it, kind of see behind them, see their quirky sense of humor, or see what made you can begin to guess at what made them tick. It doesn't feel like it was commercially made. It feels like it was made by a member of the community. And then the treasure box being cleverly hidden, I think, is important. I mentioned the one that in the cemetery was a pot of flowers. There's one in my town where there are a lot of quests. That was an old stone wall, and you'd go along and you'd all of a sudden come to a little door that opened in the side of the stone wall, and one of the dads of a kid in the 4th grade class had made this little door that would open, and inside was the treasure box. I've seen one where there's a rope hanging down from a fork in a tree, and it's latched onto the side of the tree, and you unlatch it and sort of lower a bucket, and in the bucket is the box. So there are lots of different ways you could do that. And then I think it's important that no two hunts are alike. So you don't want to be able to sit in your desk and solve the whole thing. Hopefully you have to be out in the landscape in order to figure it out. You have to see some of the either letter or number clues, or maybe architectural details, or pacing, anything that gets you out exploring, will help you to solve the treasure hunt in a way that you wouldn't be able to do if you were just sitting still. I wanted to share a different kind of quest. And this was one that was made by the folks at the Bureau of Land Management, Campbell Creek Science Center. And a thing that's really interesting about this quest, I think, compared to the one we just went on, is that it almost doesn't involve any signs. In this quest, you're not going around collecting letters and that kind of thing. It's following an existing trail, or set of trails at the Campbell Creek Science Center, and just teaching you about things as you go. So as you can see, there are 9 stars, and each of the stars teaches you something along the way, and then you're working toward solving a riddle. And you can see that the riddle, you will see me on your quest today, but where I am I cannot say. I'm known to run but never walk. I have a mouth but do not talk. I have a head but never weep. I have a bed but do not sleep. What am I? So in order to follow that riddle, you have to follow the directions after the clues to collect a secret letter at the different stops. So let me just show you this one. We're not going to read the whole thing out loud. I will say that I'm going to go back for a minute. Like many quests, this does encourage you to have good manners. Don't dig. Don't try to keep your dog on a leash. Be careful. To do safety protocols and that kind of thing. So these are some examples of some of the stars, and you can see that the letters that you're collecting aren't on signs. So sometimes they are, but sometimes they're letters that are related to the clues themselves. And if you're interested, I'd be happy to send you a copy of this quest in the follow-up materials, or if you're interested in taking this course for credit, let me know and we can send you a copy of this as well to give you a little bit more time to look at it. Let's see, you're going along, you're going to collect the answer to the riddles. I think that Louisa knows the answer. Are you willing to tell us, Louisa? Or actually, it says I can find it on the bottom of page 4. Or do you want to, maybe we want to wait and make people actually go on this quest? I don't know if that's too far. Louisa helped make this quest.
Well, I do know the answer, but I don't know if you want me to tell you.
Okay, well, actually, I can see it right here. It's upside down, if you can see where my cursor's going. So I will tell everyone that. Do you mind if I tell?
It's okay.
It's Campbell Creek. That makes sense, doesn't it? It has a bed, it has a head. Yep. And one thing that I think is really nice about this quest is that it encourages you to think about, to learn other stuff too. So we're learning about haiku, and we're learning about acrostic, and we're learning about free verse. So this quest does a nice job of having a teachable moment, so that you're not only learning about nature, but you're learning about culture and poetry and that kind of thing as well. So I want to talk, just make a pitch for questing, and then point out that we're going to be having 2 more sessions on questing later on. I'll give you the dates at the end. One, we're going to focus on clue writing with your students. All the different ways to write clues, how to write rhyming clues, how to teach rhyming, how to learn about a place, do the research about a place so you then can teach about it. And the second session, we're going to be focusing on map making with students, and looking at the different types of maps and how to engage them. So we'll be doing more of that later on. But I first wanted to just sort of make the case for why I think questing is worth doing. So it's a wonderful way to teach fascinating facts about the natural world in your community. I think kids are always sponges for learning about the world around them, but when they then get to turn it into a clue, they're even more excited to count the number of needles or whatever the thing is. it's also a great way to explore culture and historical sites. You know, you feel like a local when you're actually knowing what roof type that is, or the history of that old mill, or who originally, you know, why is it called Campbell Creek, or you know, learning about some of those kinds of things. Um, it does a nice job, I think, of bringing children and adults together. Uh, One thing that I've experienced and really enjoyed about questing is that it breaks down the barriers, so that kids and adults are exploring together and figuring things out together, and learning from each other. So it breaks, instead of having a teacher and a student, you're all together on this adventure, on this learning adventure, creating something new. It can offer healthy exercise, get people outside exploring in new ways, and just in the ways that anytime we're moving around outside does. And it is wonderful at building a sense of place, connecting people with place, and helping to develop the bonds that you can then build on, to build ecologically literate citizens. It's hard for us to defend a place until we care about that place. And one of the best ways to begin to care about a place is to go out and explore it and make friends with it and learn its secrets and share some of its secrets with your friends. So questing can be a wonderful way to do that, I think. And it's really fun. This little girl's holding a book that some areas have developed, where you are actually collecting, going around and collecting a rubber stamp from each quest that you go on. And you're, you know, and people do that in a virtual way as well. But it can be a nice way to encourage people to go on multiple quests. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about some ways to teach questing. What are some of the skills that people need to do questing? And I was wondering if I could ask you in the chat to just put a few ideas about what skills you think students would need to learn in order to create a quest for their town. So what are some of the things you would need to cover? Some map making, yep, and reading comprehension, if they were going to be reading and writing clues, yep. What other kinds of thoughts do people have? And rhyming, yeah, and rhyming can be really fun to teach. Working together is really important if they're going to be doing teamwork. Meter is really important. It's funny, I find that kids they learn rhyme more easily than they learn meter. It can be sort of hard. How to follow directions and how to give directions are both really important. Sentence variety, yep, so that they would want to be able to how do you form a question? How do you put out directions? Some people write clues that have teaching clues and movement clues. So there'll be some directions on how to move, and then another that helps you to teach. Storytelling is really important. How do you tell a good story? It has a beginning, it has an arc, it has an end. So that can be really important. Yeah, and art and illustration. Thank you. That's a great idea. There are some really beautiful quests out there. I can't wait to share some of them with you in our next class, that people have gone to great lengths to make them beautiful. And research, yeah, thank you. That's a great idea. I think if you need to learn about your community before you can teach others about your community. So that it's and how do you learn about your community? Who do you ask? And if you do ask someone, how do you take notes? And how do you take everything that they've said and then tell it in a way that makes sense? How do you choose what's important about what they've said, and string it together in something that begins to look like a story, and that connects to a map? It's complex, and there's a lot. So thanks. Yeah, these are great ideas. Obviously you guys know what you're talking about. You've got some experienced teachers in this crowd tonight. Thanks. A few things that I had made note of were rhyming, map making, local research. Actually, your list was way better than my list, so thanks for that. I also wanted to just reflect a little bit on what subjects you could imagine covering with your students using questing. You know, which disciplines that you have to teach, you might use questing as a way to teach. I don't know if you're willing to share those in chat in terms of what you're currently teaching, or if you're doing teacher professional development, the teachers you work with, what disciplines they're needing to do. Yeah, so social studies, thanks a lot. Yeah, I think it can be a wonderful way to cover social studies because um, of the history, starting with history aspects. So often you can look at the history of your community and use tell those stories, but also just learning even civics and local government, that kind of thing. One of the quests that I have seen made, they had to go to the local government to ask for permission to put up the box, which was actually a birdhouse, and that they, because it was on town property, they needed permission. Yeah, so math is a great thought. Thank you for that. If they're going to be making maps to scale, there's a whole world of complication to understand how to do that. And there also are some wonderful quests that do things like pacing, you know, you take 50 paces, or and then how do you measure a kid's pace and an adult's pace? So there's a lot of math you can do. And then of course natural history. There are some wonderful quests that introduce natural history as well. So English, poetry, language. Yeah, thanks for that. That's there, you know, obviously the whole world of how do you write well and clearly and in an engaging way is really important. Yeah, so thanks. So there's a lot that we can do with this. Oh, health and PE, of course. Yeah, thanks for that. Um, it because we're getting people out and exploring the way these kids are doing. This is up in Talkeetna. It's you know, it's a chance for kids to do movement and fresh, healthy exercise. So that's great. Thanks. These are great suggestions. Um, I wondered if you have, as I said, I'm going to do 2 more sessions on questing that'll go into a lot more detail. This was meant to be a teaser. Um, but, and so I'm wondering if you have any particular questions about questing that if you pop those in the chat, I can make sure to cover those in the coming 2 sessions. So feel free to if there's anything you'd like to know. As I said, I'm planning on covering ways to work with your students to do research, to do writing, to include relevant contemporary issues, to do mapping, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'll generally be covering. Thanks. And just to, good. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys as well. I did write a book, or I co-authored a book about questing. It's available on Amazon, or you can get it through your local bookseller. You can get them on Amazon for pretty low cost, used, you know, 99 cents, that kind of thing. But with plus, you know, $8 of shipping. No, I don't know. It's crazy how that works these days. Or your local bookseller as well. So there's a lot there. Thank you for that question about a minimum grade level students need to be successful quest makers. I've had wonderful good luck partnering younger students with older students. So if, you know, I find that, you know, 4th and 5th graders probably are sort of a minimum for writing engaging clues where you're focused on not just the process of it, but the product. Although I've seen some wonderful quests made even by 1st and 2nd graders. But we've had some wonderful experiences working with partnering, for example, a 1st grade class and a 5th grade class, where the 5th grade class had the quest, they were the master quest makers, but the 1st grade class had an artist in residence who taught them about architectural details or something, and so they had some content and they worked together to create a quest, that kind of thing. So that can be really nice partnership. And just to close it out, the upcoming webinars, I've got questing 1 and 2 coming up. Questing 1 is on December 7th. And that's one where I'll be covering research and clue writing. And then skipping all the way ahead to February 17th, will be questing 2, and that's the one where I'll be focusing more on map making and linking to your issues. In between, we've got a webinar on nature journaling coming up on January 11th. We'll be doing one on the history of the Iditarod National Historic Trail, which is always a really fun one, coming up on January 27th. And then we'll be looking at reflection and the power of reflection in helping students to learn well in place-based learning, coming up on February 1st, and then a whole bunch more after that. So if you'd like a sheet that lists all of these webinars, you can go to this web address at the bottom, iditarod100.org, and then slash itrek-education-program. Or just write us at itrekalaska@gmail.com, and one of us will get right back to you with a flyer that lists everything. I encourage you to consider getting 1 UAA credit. There's still plenty of time to sign up for that. The credit requires you to have gone to 13 of these sessions, either virtually or just look at them. They're all virtual, but look at them in a video or attend them, and then join a couple conversations and just do your normal work with a brief reflection paper. So it's certainly manageable, and we'd love to have you join the cohort of UAA students. And I have my personal email address here too, and I'd love to hear from you if you're interested in questing. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar.